We all know the frustrating sound of a smoke detector shrieking over a single piece of burnt toast. The smoke detector isn't actually broken. It is doing the exact job it was built to do. It just lacks the context to distinguish between a harmless wisp of smoke and a genuine house fire. For a 10-year-old student sitting down during the first week of school, an anxious nervous system functions the exact same way. The unknowns of a new year stack up, and suddenly her body treats ordinary classroom stress, like a new seating chart, as a 5-alarm fire. She is not being dramatic, and she is not being difficult. Her internal alarm system is genuinely trying to protect her, but it has become miscalibrated. For a teacher, this reframes the entire job. You aren't trying to fix a broken child. You are simply helping recalibrate an alarm. To a teacher walking in on a Monday morning in late August, an empty classroom looks completely calm, ordinary, and safe. But from inside an anxious body, that same room feels entirely different. A ticking clock or scraping chair quickly builds into a sensory tidal wave. Faced with this, teachers often fall back on one of two responses. The first is the clinical response, sending the student away to the counselor. This accidentally teaches the child that their fear was simply too big for the room to handle. The second is the spiritual response, offering a quick instruction to just pray about it. While true, delivering a sermon in this moment ignores a heart that is physically racing and leaves the child alone with a body they don't know how to calm down. Teachers need a practical middle way strategy. You need a set of moves that takes exactly 30 seconds, keeps the student in the room, and actually resets that internal alarm system. The first step is simply naming the fear. Anxiety thrives in silence. When a feeling has no name, it feels massive and permanent, like a formless dread. A teacher can neutralize this by calmly narrating common physical anxiety symptoms to the whole class. By talking about a tight stomach or racing thoughts as a completely normal human experience, you remove the stigma of a clinical diagnosis. This diagram shows where anxiety physically shows up. Naming these parts gives a child a concrete way to identify what is happening. A panicking student can mentally point to their chest or hands and realize they are experiencing a manageable phenomenon. Naming the physical feeling turns a terrifying internal monster into a familiar shadow on the wall. Naming the fear lowers the alarm slightly. But because anxiety lives in the body as much as the mind, a racing nervous system ultimately requires a physical action to reset. You can introduce a short, repeatable regulation tool, like box breathing or a 5 senses grounding scan, that the entire class can execute together in under a minute. Because the whole class performs the action, the anxious student is never spotlighted or made to feel broken in front of their peers. This calm, synchronized movement replaces the chaotic, ticking clock sensory overload of the anxious mind. Regulating the body in real time bypasses the panicked brain entirely. It sends physical proof of safety directly to the miscalibrated alarm system, bringing the heart rate back down. The final move is to anchor the student's newly regulated body to a concrete biblical truth. This transitions the moment from a generic wellness technique into a Christ-centered one. This anchor must be a short, memorized, kid-sized truth. It is offered briefly as comfort, not a live devotional lecture trying to correct their feelings. Providing this physical touchstone gives the abstract concept of spiritual comfort a literal, portable object a child can look at and rely on. This flowchart outlines the strict sequence to follow. First, name it. Second, calm the body. Third, anchor in truth. Applying spiritual truth before calming the body asks a racing nervous system to absorb a message it cannot process yet. The order itself is the curriculum. You cannot give spiritual instructions over a shrieking fire alarm. The secret to this entire system is timing. These tools must be taught on day one as part of standard classroom procedures before a single anxious moment ever occurs. Practice the breathing and grounding exercises during calm, low-stakes times, like right after lunch, so they become automatic muscle memory. It is also important to maintain professional boundaries. These moves are designed to cover only the first 30 seconds of an event, keeping a student regulated in the moment. They are a frontline response. They do not replace a school counselor or parental intervention when a child is facing severe, persistent anxiety. Think back to that 10-year-old on the first week of school. With these tools established, her environment becomes stable and navigable. A classroom utilizing these 3 moves will not magically eliminate student anxiety. That is an impossible goal. The true victory is creating a classroom where an anxious child knows exactly what happens next. They know they will be seen, their body will be calmed, and they will be reminded they are never carrying it alone.